Welcome to Financial Strategies with Andrew Agemy in Connecticut and Daniel Agemy in Colorado.
So over 50 years ago, when I was a kid, I was certainly not anywhere near as tall as I am today. But my mother told me not to take out our 8-foot toboggan by myself. It was just too big, she said, to deal with. Well, as a lot of kids, right, I didn't do what my mother told me to do, and so I took it out. And when I took out the toboggan, I was going down the hill and hit a fence post. And something happened to my wrist at that point. I didn't know what right at that moment, but did something and ended up going to the hospital. And when I went to the hospital, they said, "Oh, you're going to have to go see the orthopedic doctor." And I was like, "Orthopedic doctor? What's that?" As a kid, I didn't know anything other than a general practitioner at the point. That was over 50 years ago. And today, the world has changed dramatically, and we have many more specialists, all kinds of specialists when it comes to doctors. I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. Today, we're talking about it's a specialized world. And as your story illustrates, there's all kinds of different doctors. A quick Google search, you look up attorneys, and it says that there's 25 different types of attorneys. WebMD says that there's over 200 types of specialists, medical specialists. I mean, that's insane. I think people probably know there's a lot, but over 200 according to WebMD. That's pretty insane.
Very, very much, and it's getting crazier every day, right? I mean, there's new things all the time that I come across. Just the other day, there was a specialist, somebody talking about a particular doctor. I said, "What is that? I'd never heard of that one," and it was a new kind of a specialty. And that's what today's show is all about, right? It's a specialized world. We see that with a lot of things. It used to be, right, Daniel? Cars were simple. Everybody and his brother be working on their car. But now cars are so specialized and kind of computers on wheels. So as a result of that, you have to take it to a specialist. Not just in cars, but in that particular kind of car is what works best. And we can see that all around in automotive industry, that how there's this specialist and that specialist and all these kinds of things. And, when it comes, I find it interesting when you talked about attorneys there, because, even with attorneys, their specialties that's come back to bite me in regard to specialties from that standpoint. But, when it comes to the financial industry, that's especially important because people don't know what people don't know. And many times people don't understand that there are specialties. You just can't take a financial advisor. You just can't go see a particular financial person, but there's specialties. And that's what we want to talk about today.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like we've talked many times about if you're climbing up the mountain of retirement, right? There's a difference. Maybe the two biggest. There's so many. Finance is such a broad vocation, right? And so you can narrow it down into so many things. But when we get in the financial planning area or the personal financial advisory area, I think maybe the two biggest ones that people need to watch out for is if you're in the accumulation stage, you're trying to build up your wealth so one day you can retire, compared to you have your wealth and you want to keep your wealth. Maybe you want to live off your wealth. Maybe you want to retire off your wealth now, or let's say in the next 10 years. But the point is you've already built up your wealth and it's time to protect your wealth. And all advisors are not specialists in that area, right? Most advisors specialize in trying to grow your wealth, which has been a pretty easy thing to do over the last 12 years because you could buy pretty much anything. And as long as rates were low and the government was printing money, things went up. but you're a student, right, of market cycles and market history. And what typically after 10, 15 years of good market growth, right, things averages, right, don't mean it always does that. It means there's good and then there's bad, and it averages out to a certain number, right?
Right.
And that's
Right.
why you need to look at these, especially there's lots of types of specialists in the financial world, but especially these two types of specialists. Are you in an accumulation phase of life? Or are you in protect my wealth and live off of it phase of life?
Right, right, exactly. And that living off of it is the income specialist realm. And there are a lot of people, financial people out there that say that they can help you live off of your assets, but they don't even know what they don't know about that. And too many times they're engineering income as opposed to, and you could still run out of money. And that's where the income specialist is a specialist in making sure that you don't run out of money during your lifetime. And so that's a very simplest way to break it down, Daniel. Right? It's to the performance stage, trying to accumulate wealth, and then the purpose, trying to have what you need to be able to live the rest of your life comfortably. And it's a whole different mindset. And, if you're just joining us, you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew Daniel Agemy, because people don't know what people don't know. We're trying to educate you so that you can, if nothing else, you can advise your advisor on what needs to be done in your portfolio. So it's a specialized world is what we're focusing on today. And when we're talking about that, we have a paper that we'd love to put in your hand that will help you understand this a little bit better. It's called The 10 Signs You're Working with a True Retirement Income Specialist. If you want to retire, you want to not just retire, but you want to stay retired. If you want to go back to work, that's one thing, but you don't want to retire from retiring because you have to go back to work. And that's where a true income specialist can come into play. This paper will be able to help you understand if you're working with a true income specialist or if you need to find a true income specialist. So just call and ask for it by name, Retirement Income Specialist paper, 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616. Daniel, when we're talking about these specialties in this world, right, it's a specialized world. We talk about, the doctors, how many specialties of doctors there are. Talk about how there's specialties with mechanics or specialties in the financial world. I think about how, when it comes to attorneys that there is, right? And we had an issue go on with our property. We needed, I called my real estate attorney. My real estate attorney got involved and through all of that realized I had the wrong kind of attorney, right? Needed a land use attorney rather than a real estate attorney. And so this land use attorney is making things totally better, doing a much better job understanding what to do to be able to help me and to be able to help us be able to achieve our goals with the infringement that's happening on that. So on this property. So the specialties and having a specialist is worth everything. And that's where, when people are looking at their finances, it's so significant to make sure that they have the right person helping them with that. And so many times people don't know what they don't know, that they have the wrong person, right?
Yeah, I think a good analogy is if we look at the corporate world, right? You have a CEO of a company, and the CEO is very good at a lot of different things, right?
Yeah, right.
And then they have someone who's a little bit more specialized than them, right? They have a CFO who is probably not as generalist, right? They're very much more specialized. They know about finance, but they don't know about every detail, every minute little thing, right? And then they have people under them that say, well, here's some treasury options, right? And if you were a good CFO, you didn't have all of your corporate money in Silicon Valley Bank, right?
Right.
The good CEO said, hey, insurance limits are only this much. Let's diversify. Let's put some money in treasuries. Let's put some money here. Let's put some money there, right? So they had people under them doing the individual research on the different banks, saying this bank is okay. We should put money in this bank. We shouldn't put money in this bank. We have $1 billion of cash, right? There was some companies with $1 billion cash. Let's put most of this in treasuries because that's guaranteed by the government. compared to putting it in a bank that could fail and only 250,000 is, right?
Right.
So if we compare that to the individual, right? The individual retiree, the individual saver, who is there? They are the CEO of their finances. They're good at a lot of things. Some may be the CFO too, but who is their CFO? Who's helping them make those retirement decisions? Who's helping them make those good financial decisions to make sure that they don't get in a situation like some of these, especially tech CEOs, CFOs got into by not having the proper specialties, by not having the proper specialists advising them, right, on how to manage their treasury accounts.
Right. That's so key, being able to have the right advisors, the right people, uh, you know, directing you. Daniel, we came across somebody recently that was being told some things and they made some judgment calls and they made some decisions based upon those things that are actually not true. And that is very problematic. And whether or not that the person that was giving that advice knew they were not true or not, that's one thing. But they were making decisions based upon the wrong information. They didn't even know that it was the wrong information. And the worst part about it was, the egregious part about it is they didn't want to know, right? They weren't seeking advice. But that's where being able to get the advice. And when you're talking about that CFO, the CFO is good in the financial aspects, but they're not the IT person, right? They're not the chief information officer. There's a different person for that that's advising the CEO of the company, who's the generalist making decisions for the company and making sure that the company's making money. Well, if you just joined us, you're listening to Financial Strategies. That's Andrew Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is, it's a specialized world. So many specialties today. And we are giving away a book called Three Blind Mice, talking about how there needs to be a specialist in regard to sitting aside regarding your finances, or bringing together the attorney, the CPA, and other people involved with making sure that your financial program is in the proper order. And we'd love to be able to give you this book and to direct you accordingly. Give it to you for free by calling 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616 to the next 5 callers. 800-725-7616. Ask for it by name, Three Blind Mice. We'll be right back after this.
You're locked on to Financial Strategy with Andrew and Daniel Agemy.
So, I don't know, it's about probably 10 years ago or so, we had somebody come into our to get a free financial physical. And when they came in, they had this variable annuity that they'd purchased from the bank. And the guy, the prospect there was very confused about his product. And Andrew, he said, Andrew, I called up this insurance company to ask him about this variable annuity, and I've called 7 people and I've got 8 different answers on it. And I said, I understand it. I understand that frustration. And the problem that was the biggest problem there was he went to the bank to get this product, and it was a guy that was licensed at the bank, but he wasn't a specialist in trying to help him, the prospect, to be able to get what he was trying to get. I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. Today we're talking about, it's a specialized world, and how important it is to have specialists in order to understand the complexity of the world we're living in. AAA, so what is the bank and annuities have to do with our topic today, specialists?
Well, this gentleman was trying to save for retirement, and he was trying to build up his wealth for that. And this particular product was the wrong kind of product, the wrong kind of annuity, as far as I was concerned. As far as the client was concerned, it wasn't going to allow him to do what he wanted to do. As a matter of fact, when the time was right, he got out of that and did something different with his money. But the thing is, he was sold a package. He was sold a product. He wasn't it wasn't designed to fit what he was trying to do. It was just, hey, it was the topic, the product of the day, so to speak. And my point is that who he had was a salesman at the bank selling him a product. He didn't have a specialist in helping him to design something that's going to fit what he wanted, what he needed for retirement, the best thing to get to retirement. And that's where, when we're talking specialists, one of the big areas when it comes to retirement planning is to be able to understand, first and foremost, one of the simplistic aspects of specialties is a fiduciary versus a salesperson versus a registered representative, and a true fiduciary from that standpoint. Somebody that's going to work in your best interest as opposed to the company he works for best interest, the CEO of the company, the stockholders. You don't want that. You want somebody that is going to be able to specialize in helping you, asking the right questions and doing it. This gentleman, when he went to the bank, he said, hey, I have this money. I need to do something with it. And the bank said, hey, here's the greatest product since sliced bread, and put him in that. And as it turned out, it just caused nothing but a lot of aggravation. And the reason for that was he didn't know that there were specialties and that there were better people to be able to help him with that situation.
Yeah. And when we look at specialists, sometimes it's incentives that help or that deter people from helping the person they're trying to make a good decision, right? We see this in the medical field. We see this in the food industry, especially, where people do what they're told. People do what the incentives are, right? And they're good people. They want to help you,
right?
But they don't have the tools. And they're in a system that is actually prohibiting them from doing what's in the best interest of the consumer, of the person working on their diet, or the person who is trying to get the proper procedure or figure out what's going on with their body so they can get the proper procedure. And the incentives that the doctors or the medical professional has to deal with does not allow them to spend the proper amount of time to help make an accurate decision. They're good people, but their incentives do not allow them to help the patient make the right decisions. I think that's what you're getting at when you're talking about the person at the bank and they have the best product, right? Somebody told them that's the thing to sell, but they're not incentivized to fully understand, to be that CFO for that individual. They're just a product salesman. And if you're going to be a CFO of your financial portfolio, of your financial assets, of your retirement, then you can decide, does this fit in or not? But the difficulty is most people are busy doing what they do and not doing the studying, not getting the licenses, not having the real life experience to understand how to be the CFO. They can be a good CEO, but they need a CFO that they can say, does this fit into my portfolio? I heard about this. I understand this. We see that a lot with CBDC coins, right? People are saying, what's going on with this? They need that CFO in their life to be able to counsel them on how that affects their portfolios, right? And if you don't have one, you're probably wondering, what's going on with these things? Is it destitute? Is it going to bankrupt me? Is it going to steal all my money away, right? We keep hearing people talking about these and freaking out, but you need that CFO that can help guide you through the bank trying to sell you annuity, or the government trying to push on these CBDC coins, or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Well, Daniel, when you're talking about the incentives and, we're going to come back to that. Let me give us identify us here. Where you listen to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy, because people don't know what people don't know. We're trying to, we believe that a educated retiree is a happy and smart and stress-free retiree. Today, we're going to give you a paper available for you for free to help educate you to hopefully eliminate some of your stress, called 10 Signs that you're working with a true retirement income specialist. Are you? Well, there are these specialties, and you need to be able to understand if you are or if you're not. We love to put this in your hands. Just ask for it by name. 10 signs will work. Call 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616 now for your free copy. Daniel, the incentives, most doctors, right? You talk to a lot of people in the medical profession, and they'll tell you that not all doctors are as good, are comparable, right? That there's some who are better than others. And in the financial profession, same thing, right? To where there are good advisors, but most are not advisors. Most are financial salespeople. Most are just pushing products. They're not incentivized to do what's in the best interest of their clients. They're incentivized to sell product, and that can be a huge conflict of interest. I mean, that's the whole idea behind the fiduciary rule, was to do what's in the best interest of the client rather than just sell product. But that's not always what happens. When you're talking about the doctors, many times, we were talking ahead of time, and I'm thinking that maybe you'd like to, go through some of that about how the doctors can what's happening with them and the industries they work, the companies they work for.
Well, and any industry, it doesn't matter what industry, you have to look at incentives. Why are they telling me this information? What is the benefit, right, to each person? Is there a fiduciary relationship here? Do they have to do what's in my best interest? Or is there someone telling them to act a certain way? And so the medical field, for example, has changed so much because, 30 years ago, a doctor made about the same amount of money 30 years ago as they do today. So can you imagine that?
It's terrible.
Look at how much housing has gone up. Look at how much fuel has gone up. Look at how much expenses have gone up. Look at how much student debt has gone up. Look at how much, and they make about the same amount, not in inflation adjusted returns, an actual salary, right?
Yeah.
Now it depends on the specialty, okay? But we're talking like general to general.
Right.
That's insane. That's an insane thing to think about, because you got to think about the student debt, right? How much a doctor who was graduating 30 years ago, how much student debt did they have compared to a doctor who's graduating today? Okay. So there's these chains right off the bat that this doctor has, because if they don't have a job, they're destitute. It's not like, a blue collar person who mentored under somebody who, if they lose their job, right, in the trades, they don't have any student debt, and instantly they're going to get another job, right? Because there's such a high demand for plumbers, for electricians, for auto mechanics, for all these kinds of things, right? HVAC guys, right?
Yeah.
And gals, right? They're instantly going to have another job. And there's not a cartel behind them saying, well, you didn't follow the line, you're gone. Okay. In the medical field, you got all these student loans. So you have to do what you're told to do, because if you lose your job, you're destitute. Right. So we're just following, it's every industry, but we're following the money. You got to do this. You got to look and pay attention to these things.
Yeah.
Well, if we keep going up the ladder, we look at who's at the top. Well, the CEO of the company. And a lot of these are publicly traded companies. So the shareholders, so they listen to the shareholders. Well, who directs the CEO, the shareholders? Who are those? People like BlackRock, people like Warren Buffett, right? Huge shareholders. And their incentive isn't to watch out for the mom that comes in that has a stomach ache. Their incentive is to see the next patient, see the next patient, see the next patient. Not necessarily fixed, because they've already allocated a certain money for lawsuits. And they know everyone's not going to sue them, and they know everyone can't afford to sue them. So they make more money by just pushing people through than they would by spending the amount of time to go through all the questions. And why? Because it's the incentives. We're talking about billions of dollars here in market cap, right?
Right.
I'm not saying that the doctor is bad. I'm not saying that the medical industry is bad. All I'm saying is if we
No.
step back and we look at the incentives and why you don't get more than 15 minutes with your doctor, or why they change their mind every 5 minutes, because they're not incentivized to sit down and spend a lot of time with you. Now, there's independent doctors, there's good doctors, there's people who have gotten out of, they paid off their debt and they can do what they want.
Right.
But we're talking about majorities. They have to toe the line because they've got handcuffs on because of all this student debt. They cannot lose their job, right?
Right.
And the
Right.
CEO of the hospital is not saying, let's take the best care of our patients. They're saying, let's take care of BlackRock. Let's
Right.
take care of, our share price. So I get my bonus. So I
Right.
get my stock-based compensation, right?
Yeah. That's good stuff, Daniel. When I think about what you're saying, is you're thinking about what their motivation is and what's behind everything. And I can hear people in the audience saying, "Well, what's your motivation, Andrew and Daniel?" Well, one of the first lines in the book that I'm writing that would hopefully be out the beginning of next year is that I could retire tomorrow. And the principles that we're putting forth are an educational principles to be able to help people to be able to do the same thing. I don't have to be doing this, but I want to because I'm on a mission from God to be able to educate people to be able to make smart decisions with their money, to be good stewards of their money. And that's what Agemy Financial Strategies is all about. That's what the show Financial Strategies with Andrew Daniel Agemy is about. And that's why we give away so much in educational materials and do the seminars and webinars and such that we do, because we're trying to educate people, make smart decisions. It's how I've been in business in my fourth decade now. And it's worked really well. Now, not everybody that I educate is going to have us help them with their portfolio, but they're going to be in better shape. And we've been able to help thousands of people over the years from that. So if you're just joined us, listen to Financial Strategy thing, Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is it's a specialized world. We love to be able to put in your hand today part of the educational materials to help you understand further, called Three Blind Mice by our friend Scotty McLean in New Jersey. And Scotty's written this book that is a longer book than normal, but nevertheless very in-depth and good, be able to help understand how that you can know who you need to be able to, the specialists that you need to be able to help you put together a retirement plan that's going to work for you for the rest of your life. You can have that for free. It's Three Blind Mice by calling it next 5 callers at 800-725-7616. 800-725-7616. Call now. We'll be right back after this.
This is Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy.
I think back over the decades I've been in this business, Daniel, and it's really interesting because I've been a part of meetings, sales meetings decades ago where, in the financial industry, they have a special speaker come in to pump you up on a particular product and go sell this product. And, when I was new in the business, 30, 35 years ago, recognized or would get caught up in that. But then as time went on, I began to be able to think more for myself instead of just doing what I was told and going off and being a company man kind of thing. I recognized that how that was not in the best interest of my clients. And, one of the things I'm most proud of is being able to change my methodology, change my business model to being one that fits retirees and specializes in retirees, helping them to be able to retire and stay retired. I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. Hey, that actually makes me think about thinking for yourself. Right? Not towing the line necessarily, but asking questions. And this is something everyone needs to do, right? In life.
Right.
To be successful in life, you need to think for yourself and ask questions. And it's crazy because a lot of things today are geared towards having your mind shut off and being on autopilot, right? Think about like simple things like remembering phone numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
People used to memorize numbers. Now, who knows any phone numbers, right? or like people knew how to drive somewhere, like, or follow directions how to get somewhere, right? And now people, right? You
Yeah.
just put it in the GPS. People don't know how to get places in their own city, right?
Right. Right.
So when you think about like these things that dumb stuff down, or some people may do it, some people may have seen maybe their grandkids do it. Watching them just scroll through like Instagram stories or TikTok stories for hours on end,
Right.
and it's their minds shut off. They're not learning anything. They're just being
Right.
entertained. And when we think about that, and then we think about, wait a second, is the person who's
Ah,
trying to push this thing on me? We spent a lot of time a little while ago talking about doctors and doctors' incentives in the medical field. Why did we talk about that? Well, because it's the same in the financial industry, right?
right.
People get fired for I can tell you story after story of people who got fired right before the tech bubble crash,
Yeah.
and people who got fired right before the 2008 great financial crisis because they didn't follow the line. They told people these are not a buy. It's not a time to be in stocks. It's not a time to be in these AAA rated mortgage-backed securities, right? And they put their clients in class, and the firms fired them because
Yeah.
they weren't towing the company's line, right?
Right. Right.
So it's the same thing. But do you have someone who's thinking for themselves, like these doctors that have been fired because they were doing what's in the best interest of their patient, or like these advisors who got fired because right before when there was panic, when there was a mania, right? When there was a
Yeah.
bubble, and they said, let's just sit back, let's get defensive. And the firm didn't like that, they got fired. Are you looking for someone who thinks for themselves, or are you just like one of those people who just is happy when they're doing what everybody else does, right?
Yeah.
The
Right.
listening audience. That's a question to ask yourself, because if you're somebody who just likes what everybody else is doing, you're happy to lose money when people lose money, you're happy to make people when people make money, and you don't really care if there's a better way, then you probably shouldn't be listening. Maybe go flip on Jim Cramer, right? He'll tell you some stocks to pick right before they go bankrupt. But for the people who do want someone who doesn't just follow a couple of nine, who thinks for themselves, that's who we're talking to. That's what this show exists.
Right.
So you can get some questions to ask, so you can think about these things. You were telling me earlier, right? About people who they may have more common sense than the person helping them with their money,
Right.
or than their doctor, or their attorney.
Right.
And then they ask a question, and the professional turns them down, makes them feel dumb, right?
Right.
Like, hey, you can take an asset-backed loan against your IRA. Well, the IRS says you can't. Well, they make you feel dumb because you said something that they said isn't right, right?
Right. Right.
So part of the reason the
Intimidation.
show exists is to give some people some stuff that they can think to ask their
Yeah.
professionals,
Exactly.
do some more research yourself. Or if you don't want to advise your advisor, find someone who's independent, find someone that can help you, find a CFO for
Right.
your portfolio. That doesn't mean you have to give up multiple advisors or not buy annuities from the bank. But what
Right.
it does mean is you have someone, when you have a question, that you go to and you ask them, and they help you decide if it fits into your portfolio, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we can't work with everybody, and we beat up a lot of people, but we're beating up the people who are not having a fiduciary obligation to their clients, because we've seen so many people hurt, so many people lied to,
Yeah.
so many people lose money because they thought they had the right person, but this is
Yeah.
someone who's just following. I mean, you were in the industry, you saw it happen over and over. But so there's a lot of good people out there, but you're not going to find them you're not going to find them just by happenstance. You're going to have to go
Right.
seek them out, right? And you can
Right.
find a good CFO. There's a lot of them out there, but they're probably not the ones that are knocking on your door. They're probably not the ones that work for these big financial firms, because they have to toe stockholders. They have to do what the stockholders want them to do, not what the investor, not what the mom and pop, not what the retiree needs in most cases.
Exactly, Daniel. That's why we're talking today on financial strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. It's a specialized world. And if you're going to work with a specialist, you need to know what kind of specialist you need for what you're trying to do. And we're trying to educate you, help you to know the things that you don't even know, or at least be able to understand what questions to ask to find out what you don't know, to be able to do that. And with that, we have a guide that we'd love to put in your hand, Definitive Guide to Retirement Income. If you're looking to, if you're 5-10 years within retirement or in retirement yourself, you'd like to get this paper, is 3-4 pages long, to be able to help give you some ideas of questions to ask your financial person, or be able to questions to ask somebody and interview a financial person, be able to help you to get to where you're trying to go. And we love to put this in your hand, Definitive Guide to Retirement Income. Call now, 800-725-7616 for your free copy, 800-725-7616, or check us out on the web at agemy.com. And you can contact us through there asking for the Retirement Income Guide. You're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Daniel, when you're talking about these things, I agree with you 100%. And so many times people get enamored with large names of companies and national companies, big name companies, right? And they think, oh, if I go to the big name, that's going to put me in better shape than the small independent guy, or whatever the case may be, because I know big names are not going to take advantage of me, like Bernie Madoff. Bernie Madoff wasn't a big name when he started, and look what he did, right? But it's not a good place to be, and if big was, if big were good and big were the standard, we'd kind of be ruled by elephants, right? But we're not. So it takes, so many times, like you're saying, Dan, just people's minds shut off. We live in a time frame of entertainment, and people tend to be, and when we're entertained, we tend to shut our minds off, like you said, and that could be disastrous to somebody's retirement, for them to shut their mind off, or have an quote unquote advisor who's shutting their mind off, an advisor who is not looking out for their best good, or they might think that they're doing best good. I'm not trying to badmouth anybody. I'm just saying there's people out there with the best of intentions that still do things that are not in their client's best interest, whether it's on purpose or not on purpose. And that's the key, is a lot of people doing good things, but they're not doing the best things. And that's the key to somebody being able to have the best retirement, and the best retirement income is having the best things done, right?
Yeah. You hear that. Well, I didn't know. Well, nobody knew. How could anyone know that, right? In this banking crisis, you hear it a lot. How could they know rates were going to go up? Well, if the financial person in the bank is managing the assets, they should plan better than just hoping that rates are going to get cut and they're going to make a bunch of money, right? How should they know? Well, they're professional. They should know. And that just goes to show, just because they are managing the finances for one of these huge banks, right, doesn't mean that doesn't mean that they understand, or that they're putting the time in to work this through. So bigger doesn't always mean better, like you said. And then you see some of these smaller banks who they have rock solid balance sheets because they know they're not going to get a bailout, right? They're not going to have some of their tech CEOs call up Janet Yellen or call up Jay Powell and say, hey, can you bail us out? I had $1 billion in my bank account and the bank went bad, right?
Right.
It's insane. It
is. And that is, we're in a crazy world, and that's where it comes down to, the people have to be able to take advantage of responsibility to further their own portfolios, and they need the right people, the right specialists to help them. You're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. It's a specialized world is our topic today, and we have this book that goes along talking about specialized financial world, Three Blind Mice, and how so many times the CPA, the attorney, the estate planning attorney, the financial person are not coordinated together, are not talking together, and not working together, and nobody is bringing them together for those purposes. And this book will help you to be able to understand how you can ask the questions to be able to make sure that you're getting the right people helping you to do it. Ask for it by name, Three Blind Mice, by calling the next 5 callers at 800-725-7616. 800-725-7616. We'll be right back after this.
You're locked on to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy.
Recently, I was able to make the acquaintance of somebody who ended up becoming one of our clients. And, she was tired over the past several years. She did not, like so many people, she did not make any money. At this point in time, her financial people made more money than she did. And when she was told about us and referred to us, she said, "It's like a breath of fresh air, Andrew. I've been working with people on Wall Street, through a vacation club, and I recognize that those people are not interested in my money. I know that they don't care about me. And so I'm looking for somebody to be able to help me be able to take care of my money in the way that I need to, because I want to retire in a couple of years and I want it to be the way I need it to be." And, she said, "Andrew, those people on Wall Street, they don't care about my money. They just care about themselves." I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. Today we're talking about it's a specialized world. And AAA, that seems counterintuitive. That seems actually contradicting yourself, because Wall Street, they are a specialist, clearly. So why, how, explain yourself.
Well, that's the question is, are you with the right advisor, the right financial advisor, the right people, right? Wall Street's goal, Wall Street makes money if the market goes up, if the market goes down, if the market goes sideways. So their goal is to have as much of your money in the market for as long as possible, because they're going to make more money off of that. Now, their goal is not necessarily to make sure that to keep you from retiring. Or to make sure that you retire and able to stay retired. There's one big Wall Street company firm that, if your assets go below a certain piece, that, a big name one that I know of, that your assets go below a certain level and they basically kick you out of their firm. And it could be because of their investments, or the fact that you need to be able to retire and you're withdrawing money from your account. And so that's not the right kind of advisor for somebody in a close retirement. If you're just trying to grow your money, that's a whole nother thing. So that's what we're talking about. The specialty do you have the right specialist, the right person helping you with your money from that standpoint? And there's different kinds of guys, right? There's a lot of financial people out there who are basically some form of insurance person, right? There's big name companies and, Mass Mutual and Northwestern Mutual and that's kind of, these people are with them and they're managing your money. They got your IRA and doing different things like that. Well, they're basically insurance guys. And they're not the right. Sure, they can do it, but do you want somebody that can do it or somebody that's the best at doing it, right? And then you've got the Wall Street guys and gals that are having your money in the stock market. And, granted, you might want some money in the stock market, but if you're in close to retirement, you really want all of it. The question is it going to fulfill the purpose that you want it to have? It's the people that you're working with. are you looking for somebody that can just do a minute section and make your money grow? Are you looking at somebody to be able to give you the income that you need the rest of your life? Are you looking at somebody that's going to be able to give you a holistic advice, give you some tax advice, some investment advice, some income advice, some estate planning advice, all in one shop? What are you looking for? That's the key, to be able to understand what you're looking for, what you need, and be able to plug it in the right place. And so in Daniel said, it sounds like contradicting myself. Well, this lady was, she had Wall Street people helping her with her money, but she recognized that that's not where she needed to be now, where she is in life. As she's 5 years or so away from retirement, she needs to make sure that her money's going in the right direction, and she's actually making money. I can't tell you how many times I hear from people, I don't mind you making money, Andrew, but I want to. And so many times people are saying, but I didn't make any money last year, but my people made a lot more money than I did. That's egregious.
So what do people do? How do people know if they have someone who is not necessarily a fiduciary, or not necessarily watching out for them? You mentioned insurance people. You need insurance, so you need people who understand insurance. You need to keep up with inflation, so you need some things that can help your assets grow over time. So how do you understand? How do you pick? How do you decide who is that right person to be able to help move forward?
Yeah, well, that's great. And there's we have various papers that can help people understand that. But one of the basic things is be able to help people understand, the fiduciary standard versus the registered representative standard, the suitability standard, right? Somebody's doing what's in your best interest. Are they doing what's in your best interest with the company's interest first, or they have your best interest in mind the whole time? That's the first standpoint to be looking at. And then from there, what is your goal? What are you trying to do? I've talked with people that are just trying to grow their money, leave their money. They got enough income, and they want to be able to have their money grow for their children and their grandchildren. Well, that's one person that can take care of that. That's a type of person. But then there's people who, they have X amount of money, and they need to make sure that they have what they need for the rest of their life, and that they don't run out of money. And that's another aspect. And at this point, I want to just let our audience know that you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is, it's a specialized world. And we have a paper to be able to help you to be able to understand the specialties and how to prepare for retirement. It's called Definitive Guide to Retirement Income. Because when you retire, it's not that you need $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $5 million, $10 million. What you need is income that will be there the rest of your life, income that you can't outlive, something to replace income that will replace the paycheck that you've been getting from your job. I'd love to put this in your hand. Call us at 800-725-7616 for your free copy to Retirement Guide to Retirement Income. Ask for it by name. So, Daniel, we just have a few minutes left in our show to wrap up. And, we're talking about understanding, how do you know if you're with the right person? That's where questions come into play. Being able to think, the people that you're talking to need to be able to think for themselves, as well as you need to be able to think for yourself, to be able to ask what questions, right? And that's why we exist, is be able to educate people on what they don't know, so that they can at least have the good decisions.
So if I was to wrap up what you've been saying, you would say that first, people listening need to identify what their goals are. Are you trying to grow your wealth? Are you the accumulation phase of life where you're trying to build up your assets? Or are you already in retirement and you want to make sure that they continue to last, that they can be robust and generate you some type of income? Or are you right at the cusp? You're thinking about retirement, you can taste it, but you're still working, because these could potentially be different people to help you. Are you looking to protect maybe yourself and you need some insurance? Or are you, looking to you have all that stuff put together, you have all the income you need, and you want exponential growth, you want to just shoot for the hills, and so you need to identify which of these are, and then find someone who specializes in that particular thing.
Right.
Find someone who specializes that, talk to them, go through the questions, see if their incentives align with your goals. Look at the third and fourth order consequences of making those decisions on the decisions they're making now. Are they looking at market history?
Right.
Are they a fiduciary? Right. And
Right.
you're saying to check these things out. But the first thing people listening need to do is put down, what are your goals? What are your goals? And then you can build a strategy in order to find the different people to help you. And if you can find that CFO for your personal finances, then they can potentially pull together all those different specialties and help you decide, okay, this will meet the goal over here, this can meet the goal over here, this can meet the goal over here, right?
Yeah.
And if people can take that and either find the right person to help be that CFO, or they can be the CFO and weigh these decisions as we're talking about, looking out for this. This is what is going to really help people set themselves up for a robust portfolio, robust strategy to get them to where they want to go.
That's a good recap, Daniel. Thank you very much for that. We've been talking today about it's a specialized world. And when it comes to your finances, you want to make sure that you got the right specialists. Well, anything, but especially when it comes to your finances, your retirement program, that you've got the right specialists helping you with what you're trying to do. Because, I don't know anybody that wants to retire from retiring on purpose unless they want to go back to work. So, with that, if you have any questions, comments, please let us know either by calling our 800 number, 800-725-7616, contacting us on our website of agemy.com, agemy.com, and listen to us at any place that you listen to podcasts to pick up previous radio shows and podcasts as well. We're giving away this book today to be able to help you understand how to be able to focus on and specialize and the right specialist for your situation. Scotty McLean's book, Three Blind Mice, be able to help you to understand how to be able to put together and help get the right people helping you with your state, your CPA, or your taxes, as well as your financial and retirement planning and investing. So we love to put this in your hand. You can have it for free by calling us at 800-725-7616. Next 5 callers at 800-725-7616 gets the book, Three Blind Mice. And we'd love to get your perspective on that. So with that, at Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy, our goal is to be able to educate you, be able to help you to know what you don't know. So if nothing else, you at least know the questions to ask and maybe how to actually advise your advisor. So with that, we believe an educated retiree is a happy and stress-free retiree, and we're looking forward to you having a stress-free retirement.